Could you introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, and how long you've been involved in real estate?
Great. My name is Russell Sabadosa. I'm from Springfield, Massachusetts. Traveled all over the nation and the world, but I always like to go back home to New England. I've been in real estate since 1993 when I bought my first duplex, and that got me into real estate. It was always a secondary thing while I was an engineer, IT guy, and college professor. And I resigned from teaching college full-time in 2015. And now I'm the broker owner of Premier Choice Realty, which was a resi broker since then, but now primarily moving into commercial. Mark DeFranco introduced me to NC 3 or 4 years ago. Been at more than 50% of the meetings. I just brought somebody in for the first time with my one and done payment. You get a free voucher, so I'm now going to try to do the one and done every year and bring somebody else in. I understand the full concepts of exchanging now and the value of putting many more arrows in your quiver from all the tools that you can learn from this process. I have done a three-legged exchange myself, and I'm like, wow, my client wasn't going anywhere, and doing the exchange process turned a very challenging property to something very valuable to two other people. So 3 parties achieve their goals and maximize their benefits. So I get that. The concept of drinking from the fire hose, my only concern when I come to these meetings is I want to be part of every conversation that I can, because there's so much knowledge here that I want to absorb, and there's only so much time to do it. Growing those relationships. I was sitting down with Bob Zink, and he's going to help me solve a problem with DSTs. So to me, an expert is somebody who may not have the answer, but is the resource of the resource. So in my phone right now as a seasoned landlord, I can solve any problem for residential landlording. The electrician, plumber, they're already in my phone. Now I'm leveling up into the exchange world and doing things that are much more sophisticated and structured deals. I'm not going to say complicated, because complicated may sound like people don't understand it. Sophistication means there's just more steps to understand, and the more steps that you can understand, the more deals you can do, because you can have more angles that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise.
So in your words, what's the difference between conventional brokerage and what the exchangers do here?
Conventional brokers are just cash transactions. When I say cash, it's either with a loan or with straight up cash. Conventional brokers are good people, but they're just limited to that frame of reference. Like if I live in a 2-dimensional world, I can only go left, right, forward, and back. I can't go into that 3rd dimension. And with exchange, you just open up many more dimensions to getting things done. The first question as a counselor to ask your client is, would you be open to some other scenarios? Get an answer to that question is yes, and then say, now I'm going to talk to you about some other options. If they don't want to go down that path, then that's a problem for you not going to be able to take the next step from outside a traditional deal, because your client may not understand it. But that's the skill of the exchanger, is to be the good counselor.
Okay, and on that note, so let's kind of talk about something that has to do with counseling. From that 2D perspective, there's 2 types of people. People who want a property and people who want to profit on the property they already have.
Yep.
What other benefits come into play?
The long-term benefits of being able to exchange into other asset classes. Because people may say, well, all I want is real estate. Well, what about if you want a yacht, you want a hotel, a hotel is not a piece of real estate, but a different class of real estate. If I'm a resi guy with residential multifamily. So if I stayed in that silo, I wouldn't understand that, hey, would I want a triple net lease over here on the corner lot, which is a different set of benefits. So it's understanding the range of benefits across multiple asset classes.
And when you find out what your clients want, truly want, other than cash to get somewhere, does that, do you feel like counseling and exchanging allows you to create a better relationship with your clients?
Oh, absolutely. Because I'm solving a problem for them that other people in their sphere haven't solved for them. Because I've opened their eyes to different channels to reach their goals. And show them other benefits where the only benefits they heard of before were appreciation, tax benefits, and then the income. Well, that's just the top 3, but what about all the other benefits of diversification outside geography. Oh, a key thing that this world has done for me is break my geography. Right now, as a residential broker or a broker in Massachusetts and Connecticut, I've just transacted in those 2 states. The NC is probably, now I own property in Michigan that I wouldn't have owned otherwise if I didn't step into this world.
Do you think you really get to make a difference being an exchanger?
Well, the answer is yes, because I've consummated a deal as an exchanger. And if I was younger, or newer, and I didn't consummate a transaction, then I say the difference would be yes, because I'm then becoming more aware of other people who've done the deals, and my deal will come soon. So to me, if you haven't done a deal through this group, is you just haven't engaged in the process.
So you've been here, coming here, you said, for 3 years?
Yeah,
For these,
yeah.
around that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, was there any reluctancy from the group, or were they?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So I would love to share a very small story. That I'm the past president of a landlord group in my local market in Massachusetts. I've been part of them since 1993, and that group has paid me huge benefits by way of having some of my mentors actually hold paper on 4 properties that I own now. So I got that. Now I'm looking back over that 28-year span, like, geez, if I actually engaged in networking sooner, I would have made better relationships. I was actually shy. I would skip the social hour and go right to program and watch the speaker and then leave. So now I looking back, I tell people, if you're not engaged in networking, please do so. It comes naturally for some people, and other people it's actual work. So everybody here that gets it, it's second nature. But a new person coming in has to know to engage. Like Mark DeFranco told me to throw my number out there several times, and I was a little reluctant because I'm not sure if I could actually consummate a transaction, so I don't want to waste the other person's time. Well, that just starts the dialogue. The deal will evolve. And the concept of the deal will evolve if you have the dialogue is huge. You just got to make those connections and have those dialogues and have that follow-up.
It seems like if you ask for help, you got 10 hands raised.
Correct. Yep.
So, can you talk about that 3-legged
Oh, sure.
exchange? Yeah. Can you just go through the whole thing?
Sure,
Okay.
sure. So my client had a corner of a very busy intersection, which was commercial. And at the time, years ago, I haven't done a lot of commercial. So I'm like, geez, I put it in the MLS, I'm not getting any traction, it's not moving. So after 30 days, I reached out to Mark DeFranco, who brought me into here, and I said, Mark, help me move this commercial product. Do you have anybody? And he says, yeah, I do. I go, so tell me what you got. All right. So I had to tell Mark what I had first. So we walked the property. What we had was a gas station building that was formerly a gas station on the corner that was currently empty with a 1-car garage. And then next to it was a 2-family. And then next to that was a fish store, which was part of the family's business for 30 years. That was a tropical fish store. So it was a very unique business. There's not that many tropical fish stores in our local market. So the owner's nephew was the proprietor of the business and paying way under market rent. So we all know that the only way a commercial property is financeable is if you have the long-term leases. So the lease we had made the value of this property $100,000.
Okay.
The owner wanted $350,000. How do you get something that is worth to the banks at 100, marketed at 350? So that's the magic of just starting the dialogue. Mark, what do you got? Well, I've got some guy that wants this, but he's not going to pay cash or finance. He just wants to give you 3 multifamilies. He's got a list of multifamilies. Just pick 3 that you want. Now, my owner had another multifamily, so she knew multifamily renting, but she didn't want to be a landlord anymore. So I said, but you've been coming to this landlord group. That's how you got to know me, because I was the president of this, and you asked me to help you do this. Is there any of these young entrepreneurs that you had a chance to meet at this landlord group that you feel comfortable with? Oh yeah, there's a guy named Pete. Great. So Pete was a young entrepreneur. He wants to buy multifamily property and have the seller carry the financing. Obviously no money down, it's huge. So the third leg comes in is Pete. So now our 3 legs are my client with the commercial property, Mark's client with the multifamilies that wants commercial, and then the young gentleman, the third leg, who wants to have multifamily with seller carry. So the way we facilitated that transactions, it came to the table and we said, who wants what? So we got the main structure now. And then we had to work the details. This transaction only took only a year to close. Other traditional brokers, they get the listing day 1, they get it under contract day 20 or day 40, depending. 45-day close, we're done with that transaction, on to the next. That's a straightforward, simple transaction. If you got multiple pieces of the puzzle, they all have to snap together to make it work. So some people will be down on exchanging because like, oh, I don't want to do that exchange because it never works. Well, no, you didn't have the patience to solve all of the problems. So throughout that process, my client was saying, well, I want more for the property. And we said, no, we're going to give you $350K. The guy that was doing the exchange from the multifamilies to the commercial, his lawyer got in the middle and said, are you sure you want to exchange? There's no income on these other properties. And we said, okay, fine, that's a problem. So what we did is we had to go lease up one of the empty spaces to make it look on paper that it was good enough. So what his lawyer wanted, operating from day 0 versus operating later, because they were so tunnel visioned into, oh, it's not making any money, it's not a good deal. He didn't see the opportunity. Well, it's vacant now, but it's not going to be vacant tomorrow. So to satisfy that first problem, I got a barber to lease up the barbershop, or the corner, which was a gas station barbershop. Now the commercial guy's lawyer is fine. All right, everything's working now. And then the young gentleman was getting finicky about the 3 multifamilies, about minor stuff like, why do you take care of this kitchen sink? Like, you don't ask that detail on a multi-$100,000 transaction. It's just going to take care of itself. But it was important to him, so it was stymieing the transaction. So the whole thing, we're 9 months in this transaction, the whole thing's about to fail. And the young gentleman, Peter, was upset with the other guy with the 3 multifamilies about picky-uni little details. So I just said, can I have a face-to-face meeting? Got him in the room, looked at the commercial guy, and said, you want to sell and buy commercial? Yes. Pete, you want to buy these multis and have seller financing? Yes. So what challenge do we have to get through? And then I de-escalated their picky-uniness and solved the couple $100 problem that was creating a stagnation in the transaction. And then it closed.
And then your client got the seller carry note, or?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Yep. So to summarize that transaction, the 3 legs were commercial, not fully rented, multifamily just wanting to swap, but my client did not want the multifamilies. Bringing a 3rd leg that took the multifamilies and gave paper back. So everybody walked away from the transaction with what they wanted.
Awesome.
And it took some time to balance all that out. What amazes me is having multi-legs and then the balancing of equities, and how do you balance that out? So what to do is to string it all out like a diagram and say, who are the parties, what are their needs, what are they getting and what are they giving, and then making those connections and balancing it out.
This is the last question I ask everyone. Do you like your job?
I don't have a job. I love my life and I love my career. And the reason why I don't have a job is because I stopped working for other people in 2015 when I resigned from being a full tenured college professor, making a good salary but fixed, and working for myself is amazing because if I don't want to show up to work, I don't have to. But I love everything I do. And if those who that have not seen it, watching Steve Jobs' commencement address for Stanford 2005 is an amazing, inspirational message if you get the opportunity to watch that.
I have seen it. And I mean, I'm not to where I could quote it, but and then I'll ask you one more because you're a little newer and it seems like you've kind of started doing it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What would you say to a broker who's watching this video, who's never heard of exchanging, but they're watching the video, they're looking for something like what? Try and sell it to them. Like, why do you come here?
Why do I come here? Because this is a problem-solving organization. If I've got a tough listing that's not moving, I can bring it here and we can work through it. We will make it happen. Being open to new ideas and talking to different people to help solve a problem.